Patrick, how are you, partner?
Doing good, man.
There he is.
I'm always early.
I don't know if he can see us. Can you
I
hear
can see
us?
you.
He's
Can
in
you
a
hear me?
trance. Is he frozen?
No, he's there. He's talking to you.
Yeah,
I can't hear him.
I'm talking to you.
For some reason, I cannot hear him.
You need me to run the show?
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him. I hear both of y'all just fine.
Wow. For some reason, I can't hear him. That's odd. We've never had that
Can you see him?
I can see him. Yeah, I can see him, and he's you know what? Because my phone, for some reason, has him frozen. Let me jump out and jump back in, and we'll see if we can fix it. And you can welcome him in and talk to Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can host the show solo if you need me to.
Absolutely, you sure could. You sure could. How are you, Pat? Welcome into the show.
Oh man, how y'all doing?
Well, we're doing okay. JP's struggling up there in Tallahassee. I don't know if it's Tallahassee internet or phone service or what it is up there.
Well, we are, like JP just said, we are a very small town. Although I thought we got reliable internet by now, but maybe it's the hotel where he's at. But yeah, man, how's everything going in Tampa?
Oh, it's going well. Let's see if he can pop in and hear everybody now. JP, are you here?
I'm here, and I was just hearing Patrick.
I'm right here.
There. Now we're good.
We're good.
There we go.
When in doubt, reboot.
That's right.
Reboot. How are you, partner?
Good, man. Good. Just a beautiful day in Tallahassee. As you know, you've been here for a couple of days, and that's really cool what you guys did. In fact, my father just called and said he loved those guys that covered FSU in the 90s, was good friends with all of them. He used to ride into work with Jerry Cutts on Sundays when Jerry was with Osceola. Jerry would
That's right. We talked about that
with Dad, and Dad would drop Jerry off at the Osceola, and obviously his wife, Jerry's wife at the time, would take him home later that night. But yeah, so I saw Bill Valona. I hadn't seen him in a while. That was a good picture to see. I think Wayne posted it on Facebook. But I didn't realize that was what brought you to town. I'm glad to know that you guys do that.
It was funny because last year they just did the SID people, and I told Wayne, I said, well, why don't we invite the media? All the media, the hacks, and and me and Tom Block were like the only TV people that were there. So. But we should invite the coaches too, coaches and players. Let's just do a whole 90s reunion, coaches, players, assistant coaches, everybody had anything to do with the program. Let's just come on back and have another weekend. It was fun. It was really fun to see everybody, and the stories were just crazy.
Well, and those times, like you were saying before I jumped on, those times were so different.
Yeah.
I remember being a teenager and coming down to hang out with the facility and see Dad for a couple minutes and walk around campus, whatever I was doing at the time. And, people sitting in that big old atrium with the snake, with those couches that were snaked on both sides of the elevator, and just people hanging out. Of course, now, unlike you guys, if I saw Coach Bowden coming, I went running. I didn't want him to see me around the facility because I didn't, he was the head coach. And so that was a different time. And I remember that old gold building. I remember we pulled up in 1985 and the erector set, and like you were talking about, what that run did for this university and for this program. Under Coach Bowden is tremendous, and you see his footprints and the footprints of those dynasty teams everywhere, not only on campus but around this town. It's funny. I was watching television the other day, and Mickey Andrews pops up on a Ford commercial. Coach Andrews is in his 80s and still very relevant in Tallahassee. Most old coaches kind of disappear,
right?
But not here in Tallahassee. I pass by Coach Bowden's house every day, live a half mile from him, where he used to live, and where Miss Bowden does live. So it's crazy to think about the nostalgia of all that, and I think it's really cool that you guys did that.
Well, it's interesting because what we did in not we in terms of the media, but in terms of FSU, that's when what we call the media rights now, right? How popular is your school? That's what determines whether you're going to get into the super conference or whatever is happening. It determines the revenue that you get. It determines everything. And that was all built in the late 80s and 90s and the early aughts. And of course, it's been carried on through the 2013 national championship that allows them to do what I'm about to show you. And you've been watching this take shape. So we're all going to look at the pictures together. So we took kind of a backstage tour yesterday, and they put the field in, which is nice. So I'll show you that first. So what you're looking at is the new suites downstairs. And, so down below is where there's going to be, I think there's 4 suites down there where in the club back inside where that's the real big money people in. And right above that is the club. And then the suites back behind it. And those are, I believe Jerry told me, Jerry Cutts from your boss with the Osceola said those are $8 million each. And they all sold out. Do you know the numbers? And I'm trying to recall them that he told me.
No, I don't. I don't recall. No,
those are the $8 million suites, and then in the lower there'll be chairbacks down there, and then there's chairbacks right above it too. So the whole from 20 to 20 has been ripped out, and this is all now premium seating.
Yeah.
And from what Jerry was telling me, they're telling me there was $1,250 tickets. I think that's the lower level, and then up the next ones up are I think $600 a ticket plus your donation. To the, I mean, all that. I mean, the revenue that's going to come from this is insane, but also the prices are insane. I mean, have you get a sense from, and I think he told me that back in maybe the 90s or maybe even the early aughts, that about 50 or 70% of the ticket buyers were from Tallahassee, and now it's 30%.
Yeah.
So this has become a weekend activity.
Listen, the changes look great. I'm sure there's a rhyme and reason they've done them. But to your point, with the prices that they put on these tickets, they better win, or they're not going to. They better win some ball games, or those seats will be empty. Listen, I'm for what listen. I don't do the studies, I don't do the research, but the stat that you just said, the core of Florida State's fan base is from Tallahassee.
Yeah,
and always has been. And Tallahassee is a blue-collar town. I hope Florida State has enough success that they can put all the butts in the seats that they want. But if they can't, the people that have supported this program for a long time have been priced out of the market. That's my only concern. And listen, and more people are watching it on television, and they needed to shrink the footprint of that stadium. There's no you don't get 80,000 people to Tallahassee on a regular basis, just because it's not close to anywhere, right? I mean, you're 3 hours from Pensacola, you're 4 hours from Tampa. So anyway, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like in person in August.
Now here's a little panning of the whole stadium. By the way, the end zone, the Champions Club in the end zone is also being redone.
Yep.
And there's so those are all premium seats over there that they're redoing. So that's another level as well. Let me see what else. We also got a tour of the locker room. I don't know if this is totally new. I think it's new in the last couple of years. Here's a little peek. This is they have all the All-Americans, Heisman Trophy winners. Check out these lockers. There's Von Sellers, T-Buck, and then these lockers are unbelievable. Do you have this when you played?
Our lockers at Sanford were not even enclosed. They were wood with pegs on them. And there were about 150 of us slammed into a room built for 75. Yeah. Totally.
Even the old FSU lockers were.
That's nothing like the old FSU locker room, and that was nice at the time. So it's amazing what they do, and I'm assuming that they are.
Here's what they didn't do last year. So they put it up on the wall just to remind the players.
They might want to put exclamation points after each one of those.
Sorry, cheap shot. Had to do it though.
Yeah.
Had to do it.
Listen, I think I guess they're going to keep that as the game day locker room and still have a locker room in the football ops building for practice.
Right.
I guess that's what they're going to do. And I talked to a recruit on Sunday who got a chance to go into the football ops building and a high school coach who was here with another kid, and they were both raving about it, and I can't wait to see what that thing looks like.
Yeah, I didn't put it on here. I put it on my social media just overlooking what it looks like right now, and it's still under construction. They said it's going to be ready in September, and most half of it's already done, but they got another half to do. But it looks amazing, and with the indoor facility behind it. And Pat, we have to say this. As much as we bitch about Jimbo, he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. All the things that he wanted, And the way he went about it was maybe not the best way to go about it, but he wasn't wrong. If you want to compete with the big boys, this is what you got to build. This is what college football is. And I think Jerry told me that they've gone from $200 million in debt service to $600 million with all the new things that they built. So, like you said, they better win. They better win because they're betting a lot on it.
Listen, but the additions do look great, and just the campus has changed so much since you and I were in college.
Oh my God.
JP, I mean,
yes.
And that stadium was something else. There are days that I wish for the simpler times of the 80s and 90s, but listen, if you got the money to spend, it's going to be a hell of a place to watch a football game.
So here's a little trip. If you're a football player, going down the tunnel, is what you see. I'm even adding a soundtrack to it as I walk.
Do you have the war chant going?
Yeah, that's me. Don't. So you walk through here, and there's fans on both sides, by the way, right here. You can hear the drum, right? Coming out to this. Yeah, this is pretty cool. There's a spear above you that's all lit up, and then you walk out to that, like, holy shizbang. Yeah.
That place is going to be popping on August 30th, I can tell you.
Coming through that tunnel on August 30th?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's it gives you chills just even when it's empty like that. And listen, I know Florida's going to do something similar. They're ripping up their stadium to put in premium seating as well. So this is the wave of the future. But $25 tickets for games are gone. Maybe scalping at the end of the season, who knows? But the season ticket holders are getting soaked, and most of them are from out of town. So as you said, you got to win, and a lot of this stuff is kind of paid for before the season starts. So
definitely.
I think we have to say, I think Mike Alford has done a great job, and I know it pisses off a lot of people who have been season ticket holders for a long time that live in Tallahassee. I know a lot of them that got their seats displaced and couldn't afford these new tickets. That it just is what it is. It's kind of the cost of doing business in college football right now. And a lot of these, the ADs don't know where it's going, and they're just trying to find as much revenue as they possibly can. And whether it's a lawsuit against the ACC or doing things like this that are sometimes unpopular with some of the fans, I think it's necessary to compete with the big boys. Would you agree?
Yeah. Listen, they're doing what they think they have to do to remain competitive and to be out in front. And listen, things change. There are a lot of things that have changed over 20 years that are good, and a lot of things that have changed over 20, 25 years that are bad, depending on your perspective. But listen, this was researched thoroughly. And was not, listen, I'm sure that at the end of the day, they feel bad about the people that have been displaced, but at the end of the day, this is a business. And Florida State fans do want the program to be successful, and this is what the leadership thought they needed to do for it to be successful. So you've got to trust from the people that the university has hired that they're going to do the best thing for the long-term future of the program, and I think that's why they did this.
Yeah. I totally agree. All right, let's talk about something better than most, and that's this actual team. We just saw Tommy Castellanos' locker there.
Yeah.
Jerry and I were talking about something yesterday on the show that I think is of the utmost importance, and that's leadership on the team, on the field. It was the complete vacuum last year. There were no leaders, and I think it was a big reason that they were 2-10. Tommy Castellanos has been there. He's done it as a starting quarterback at Boston College. He knows what leadership is about, and I think from what I've heard, he's doing a great job in that regard. What have you heard about Castellanos?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, I think that's been the standard message that, and listen, you got to be careful because most of this is coming from inside the building. And, I know that Mike came out a couple weeks ago and said he was going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football, and people got all excited. And I said, well, go back and read what he said about DJU the year before. But yeah, listen, Castellanos is going to be one of the most electric offensive players in college football next year. Certainly, based on what we've heard players say, he has been leading, and you would expect he's a fifth-year guy. This is his last year. Limited success in college as a team player. Had some individual success statistically, but yeah, everything you hear about Tommy is outstanding from a leadership standpoint. He certainly, in the one practice we got to see in the spring, showed leadership capabilities. And he's going to be one of the most electric players athletically, physically in college football. The question with Castellanos, to me, is which team does he shock the most? Does he shock his own team with these massive amount of turnovers that he's had over the course of his career, 31 in 2 years? Or does he shock the opposition with these unbelievable plays that he's able to make, not only with his feet, but off play action passing? And, so I think he's got a chance to be a guy that can help Florida State get back to going in the direction it needs to go. But he's going to have some help. But, yeah, everything you hear about Tommy Castellanos has been good. I remember doing a film evaluation of Tommy as a high school player when he got offered by Florida State, and I wanted to sign him as a slot receiver. Of course, he wanted to go somewhere as a quarterback and sign at UCF. Ended up transferring to Boston College, and he's going to get to, play quarterback at Florida State. So good on him for being patient and going to a place that afforded him the opportunity to play the position he wanted to play. But I can't, I'm kind of neutral on this. People either love the take or hate the take. I think it could be a great take if they can get the turnovers out of him. It could be a horrible take if they can't, because then it's a bad season, and all the stuff that comes with another bad season is going to be filling the airways. But I cannot wait to see what this kid can do with this rebuilt offense.
All right, and that starts with the offensive line. And again, you guys didn't get to watch practice, and they're going up against a defense that wasn't that good last year in practice. So what can we glean about this offensive line? The good news is there's new coaching. There's a lot of new guys, and it's not what we saw last year for the most part.
Well, listen, I think what they had to do, what they did in the portal with the offensive line, you bring in 4 legit day one starters in Gunnar Hansen, Adrian Medley, Luke Pettibon, and Richie Leonard. Micah Pettis, and then you insert either Richie Leonard or Bryson Estes or one of the other guys as your fourth or your fifth starter, the other guard. You bring in Herb Hand, who is an excellent offensive line coach, who's got an excellent track record, not only on the field with his players and development, but also on the recruiting trail. We're already seeing the benefits of that.
That's huge.
And I've known Herb for a long time, so I'm probably a little bit biased. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a hell of a football coach. The people that I know in the world of college football all echo the same sentiment about Herb. So I think you get an upgrade as a coach, and clearly you're getting upgrades at each position outside of your one guard position, where either Richie Leonard, Andre Otto, Bryson Estes will compete. Because, JP, if the guy coming back, had he not transferred out, the guy that had the most reps for Florida State, TJ Ferguson, transferred out of the program post-spring, he only played 400 snaps. So you would have been playing a very inexperienced offensive line behind a quarterback that doesn't have the greatest track record from turnovers if they had not hit what we think are home runs in the portal in the offensive line. And then you got some young players that are developing, the Jonathan Daniels, Andre Otto. So I think they are going to be better on the offensive line. I don't know if they could have been any worse, to be quite honest with you, but no. I like what they've done. You got some experience, and you got a new leader, and Coach Hand leading that group. And nothing against Alex Atkins, but I think they upgraded certainly at the offensive line with who they brought in, those 4 core guys that will make up the offensive line, all starters, multiple year starters, most of them, out of Hansen, Medley, Pettibon, and Pettis. And so I think they upgraded all around the offensive line, coaches, players.
All right, so now we move on to receivers who couldn't catch a freaking cold last year, but they're different guys. You got Squirrel White from Tennessee, Deuce Robinson from USC, I believe. Yep. And some other guys. So we've revamped the entire wide receiver room, and that was needed as well.
Well, yeah, and listen, I do think you're going to hear a lot about the fact that they didn't really care about Hakeem Williams leaving, or obviously Jaylen Brown got in trouble and had to, was kind of vanished from the program. I think they were, and of course the JUCO guy they brought in, Jordan Scott, didn't even last through spring practice before he announced he was going in the portal. So they got caught off guard by that a little bit. They're going to spin it the way they're going to spin it. I don't think that. I think wide receiver is it's going to be interesting to see what happens at wide receiver. You brought in Gavin Blackwell from North Carolina, who had not had much success at North Carolina. He's going to be able to come in here and compete for a starting job. Listen, I talked to a former FSU player who was at practice. He's told me that Deuce Robinson is legit. I respect this guy's opinion. He was a good player. He's a good coach, coaches high school ball and has for a long time. I think he knows what he's looking at. But even Deuce does not have a long track record in college, right? So the only guy you've really got that's proven in that room is Squirrel Wright. And he has a chance to be an outstanding receiver. Now, I think the practice we saw, Elijah Moore looked pretty good. We've heard good things about Javon Boggs, who did not practice in the scrimmage that we were at, nor did Robinson, nor did White, nor did McCoy. So we didn't get to see a whole lot. But listen, if Deuce Robinson and Squirrel Wright can step up and play, Squirrel just be as productive as he was at Tennessee, Deuce live up to his billing, I think he got a chance to find that third guy. But I think they're very, very thin at wide receiver from a depth standpoint, certainly from a proven depth standpoint. So you're going to need somebody out of that group to step up and finally do what they were brought in to do. But I think the biggest hit on this entire team is depth. I think that could be an issue for them. But, yeah, wide receiver to me is a big, big question mark heading into this season.
What about Jalen Lucas? We got a peek at him last year, and we there were high hopes for him.
Yeah,
he's in the running back room now, I think. But there was talk about him playing slot receiver. He's an explosive weapon, as a receiver, running back. Will he get some touches? You think? Yeah.
Listen, I think with where they are in the running back room, particularly after taking Gavin Sawchuk from Oklahoma in the portal, I think that it almost necessitates that from where they are with the receivers. Listen, if you go back and look, and he didn't play very much last year. I think Jalen played in 3 or 4 games before he got hurt. He played 16 total snaps from scrimmage. 9 of those were at slot. 7 of those were at running back. I think that where he's going to be a gadget guy. If I had to bet, even though everyone that covers the program, including us, lists him as a running back, I think he will play the majority of his snaps at slot receiver. Because, listen, you've got a crowded running back room now with Sawchuk, Williams, Cam Davis, Holmes, Singleton, and now Crowma comes into the picture.
Yeah.
So I think Jalen Lucas is going to be a gadget guy. I think he is going to be your MacGyver, your Swiss Army knife, whatever you want to call him. I think they can line him up in the backfield if they want to. I think he'll take most of his snaps in the slot. You can even line him up at Wildcat. But, listen, I was certainly a fan of his going into last year. I didn't think they used him effectively in the Georgia Tech game. He only got touches. His snap count was very weird in that game. Florida State snap count at running back has always been weird with the guy they got.
Not the rotation just doesn't work.
But I think you'll see less. If you go back and look at the PFF stats at UCF from last year, their backup running back, I think, was less than 200 snaps total for the season. So I think Gus Malzahn is going to find a workhorse, and whether that's Sawchuk or Williams or Davis or whoever it turns out to be, I don't think we will see as much rotation at running back. Like I think in the Georgia Tech game last year, they played 5 different running backs in the first half. Like it's just I don't get it. And I understand you got to keep people happy in the air in the instant.
It's more about retaining players than winning games.
But I think so. My point to you is yes, I cannot wait to see what they do with Jalen Lucas, and I do think he will line up all over the place.
All right, a couple minutes left. Let's do some defense here. Tony White's coming in from Nebraska with a whole new scheme. This 3-5, kind of more of a positionless defense.
Yeah.
But which is good. That's where everything's going. But there's some talent here, right? And he brought some with him.
Yeah, listen, I'm more impressed with the guys that did not come from Nebraska than the guys that did come from Nebraska.
Okay. All right.
I know that James Williams gets all the fanfare, the big defensive end from Nebraska. But listen, he was a situational player last year at Nebraska. He was a third down and long pass rush guy. He did not play a ton of snaps. The kid that really impressed me is DeMonte Diggs, the kid from Coastal Carolina, who had played at, I believe, Youngstown State before that. I really liked what I saw out of him in the scrimmage. Obviously, Daryl Jackson's got to step it up and have one of the best years of his life. We didn't get to see Jason Jackson, and I like what I saw from Deontay McCray, the kid from Western Kentucky, on film.
Yeah.
The big thing there on the defensive line is depth. No proven depth. Can Jason Jenkins from Tennessee come back from whatever his injury was? But I really like Diggs, and I really like McCray. But they don't have a lot.
Win? The true freshman Win from
Yeah,
Georgia?
I think. Yeah, I mean, he is a true freshman. I don't know that he's ready to play. We've got him listed as a third team nose tackle heading into the season. Listen, but KJ's not proven anything yet. And Ty Copeland hasn't either, so he could be the backup eventually to Daryl Jackson at that nose tackle, defensive tackle position. And listen, they're going to play some four-man front on this thing. So everybody hears the 3-3-5, and this is a poor man's Joe Lee Dunn defense. They're going to move people around. Right. They're going to show people safeties at the second level and back them out. They're going to show linebackers. They're going to walk them up to the in the box and up to the line of scrimmage, and they're going to bail. They're going to bring two people, send two people back. It's going to be a lot of eye candy defensively for Florida State.
I like that.
Now, I really like the Herring take from Memphis via Tennessee. He was a leading tackler at Tennessee 2 years ago. He made some really nice plays in the scrimmage we saw. So I think you're going to be better at linebacker. I really like where Omar Graham is going with his career. He is, towards the end of last year, just got better and better and had a really good spring based on what we saw and what we heard. Again, I think that Blake Nicholson will end up being the starter in a true three linebacker set. Stephen Thompson, they brought him from Nebraska, but he was a backup last year at Nebraska. He was not a starter, has not started since he was at Syracuse with Tony White. But he is a guy that can help these other kids learn the intricacies of his system. But again, who's going to be behind him? Now, listen, the one kid I am fired, I should have mentioned him. We got him listed as a Jack, which is the pass rush specialist.
Right.
Is Amari Williams. We can't forget about Amari.
Right.
He had a great year at tight end last year, moved out to defensive end and over to the other side of the ball. They say they're going to play him at tight end. I don't think they can afford to with where they are on the defensive line depth. I think he's going to have to be a guy that plays a significant amount of defensive reps for Florida State. And then the secondary, I think the biggest question you had there was corner, and they addressed it by going out and getting Jeremiah Wilson from Houston. Listen, I think they would have liked to have gotten a safety. They didn't. I think they wanted somebody to come in and compete with Shaheem. They could not do that. Shaheem has not been a very solid tackler. The things they're saying about Earl Little, who looks like he's going to be the rover, which is probably the most important player in that defense. He had a great spring. We'll see what happens at the other cornerback spot. I think it's going to be Quindarius Jones. There are a lot of people think it's going to be Rawls or Lester. Then I think Edwin Joseph's got a chance to be a really, really good player if he just matures and grows into the system. So, listen, I think I'm worried about depth throughout the any position group you talk about. I'm worried about depth. Whether it's quarterback on down, you got question marks everywhere. Then, listen, the schedule sets up good for them. At worst, they should be 2-1 out of the first 3 weeks and have, you've got Alabama, East Texas A&M, Kent State, and then Virginia in the month of September. Worst case scenario should be 3-1 coming out of that. And then it's about what you do with those other 8 games, and you got to win 3 of those 8. And, I think when we look at the schedule, I think we get too caught up in brand because I've had too many people say Florida State's going to go 10-2 this year, and they just look at brands. You got to remember you've got a chance now to rebuild your team every year, and the one thing that we hate about college football, a lot of us, is the portal, but it's the one thing that's given Florida State a chance to get out of this hole it's mired in. But it also means you don't know. You can't look at Virginia's the decal on Virginia's helmet and say, "Oh, Florida State's better than him," because we have the arrow and they have the swords, and the arrow has always been better than the swords. Well, they brought in a transfer quarterback as well this offseason. What if they got it right and Florida State got it wrong? So
it's too much volatility. I think, 47 new players for FSU this year on the roster? 47? Yeah, it's the volatility in the roster is going to give you the volatility from year to year. You don't know.
Yeah.
Witness 13-0 to 2-10.
And then who the hell knows what Florida's going to be like by the time they get is Florida the team that everybody thinks they are, a top 20 team, or did they fall, or by the end of the year they beat up and can't compete? Virginia Tech, does that quarterback finally have his breakout year? Kyron Drones is very talented physically, but a lot of people are thinking that that guy's on the ropes this year as the head coach, and then you got to go to NC State, and it's a night. It's already been announced as a night game. It's a Friday night game, and so what happened? That's a different place to play, and can they rebound? They were really bad on defense last year. They had some key injuries, but I think listen, I've got them. I've always said 6-6, 7-5 baseline with plus or minus 2 on either side of that. So, I could see anything happening in this.
Those prices, you better get to at least 8 wins. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to ask you this question because we've been having this question a lot, and it's caused a lot of debates internally with the guys I work with and sitting around drinking beers with the boys on Thursday nights. Do you think there's a magic number for Mike?
My sense is he has the real support of management. I think Mike Alford believes in him tremendously. I think, and that's what counts the most, really. And I think, I don't think he gets fired after. Now, if they go 2-10, yes, he's out. I think anything less than if it's 4 wins or less, I don't think he can survive that. Not with what's on the table. There's no. When he walks into that stadium and sees $200 million and another $200 million in the football-only facility, that comes with a price. And if you don't win 6 games, you can't be the coach at Florida State University. It's that simple. If you can't make it to a bowl, you can't be the coach at FSU. So, I think in this space we're in with the buyout and everything else, I think it's going to be tough to can him after this season. But if he doesn't have a 10-win season or a 9-win season, he's got to compete for the ACC championship either one of these years, and certainly in 2 years. If there's not more stability to the program after this season, if he's still bringing in 47 new players every year after this season, I think he's going to be on thin ice. I think he'll be on. So
you don't think there's a magic number this year?
I mean, if it's 4 or less, I think he's fired.
All right, so the interesting situation to me is, of course, and this is talking season. That's all we do is talk about football and other sports. Right. All right, so the interesting thing to me is if Florida State is 5-6 going into the Florida game.
Oh, God.
All right, because, JP, if you're going to make the change, you got to know you're going to make the change before the portal opens. So I think there's almost no chance unless what you say it's 4-8 and it's a disaster is 4-8.
Yeah.
But because the change got to take place, you got to know you're making a change before. So I think just the way it works out, unless the optics of it, and optics matter in today's society more than they've ever mattered at any time in college sports. So I agree with what as the more we have these conversations, the more I have them with people that obviously I value their opinions. You and Jerry and I have had this conversation a ton. I do think that he is going to get the benefit of the doubt if it's anywhere close,
right?
Because of the timing of when you would have to make a change. Yeah. Well, the buyout certainly, the finances work on his side. There's no doubt about that.
Right, so, absolutely.
Yeah, and listen, that's all we're going to talk about between now and December.
Yeah, it's a great conversation. Yeah. It's a fair conversation to have.
By the way, we are a Tampa show. I don't know if you saw this, but South Florida has announced its 2025 Hall of Fame club.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday.
And so
Jim Levitt is in.
I want to congratulate Kawika Mitchell, one of the best linebackers that's ever played probably any university in the state of Florida, and had a great career with the Giants. And of course,
I agree.
Then of course, my former boss Jim Levitt was. I didn't see that one coming, but listen, he deserves it. I mean, he did go and took that program from scratch, and trailers outside the locker room. I mean, the trailers for locker rooms, for coaches' offices, and he deserves that. I know it was a weird ending, but congratulations to Coach Levitt if you're listening. Hope you're enjoying Tampa. But yeah, man, crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. He long overdue. Long overdue. The healing has happened, and it's long overdue. So good to have it. All right, Pat, tell everybody how they can get your content at the Osceola.
Yeah, go to theosceola.com or floridastate.rivals.com. We've got a ton of information on the official visits that Florida State had this weekend for football. Official visit season is here. They had 6 kids in there. Had a kid from Tampa Berkeley Prep, Johnny Jones Jr., whose father played at South Florida, as a matter of fact, and I talked to senior on Sunday. But we've got all their post-visit comments at theosceola.com or Florida State.
Check that out tonight. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pat.
All right, guys.